guys think that like how would that affect like the rest of the book?
I wrote down I felt like the rain would be playing like a big role in whether like the writer's mood or just in general what's going on is supposed to be like sad and gloomy. I said that it's supposed to be like he mentions rain in the rainy season so many times in chapter 3 alone that it's gonna have to mean something really.
Yeah, it probably like is a big role because it was stated at the beginning of the chapter, and most of the people there are like hard workers and they're in agriculture, isn't it? Oh. So that has like a big effect on like how they're producing their food, and so I think that's going to play like a role in how the chapter goes.
It was nice.
Well, I had a quote like it's like a piece of like poetry that he said, kind of. How much longer is this life to continue? Certainly, both of us become strangely impatient and jittery. So when either one of us makes even the slightest fox pass to the other, turns on him with a baleful eye. This is the only. Oh wait, that's not the piece of poetry. This is the only result of nerves stretching taut like a bowstring day after day after day. Oh, that was the piece. Like I really like that quote because like it showed like how anxious they were, like how their nerves were getting stretched taut like a bowstring day after day. Like I really like that phrase right there because it's just showing that like the time that they're there just feels really long because they have to like wait until the time is ready to like go over and like share the gospel.
I agree.
It's got to be really tiring waiting all the time with the government keeping them from being able to spread the gospel.
Yeah, especially like when that's the only thing you went over there to do, pretty much. Just knowing that the one thing you tried to do is being thwarted and you can't control anything about it.
And even like the ride over there takes so long, and it's very dangerous, so you don't even know if you're going to make it there.
They waited 3 years to get there, to wait every day again just to get out. It seems like they're just doing a lot of waiting. It's probably really tiring.
Yeah, I have a quote with that. It says, "The Lord of this district has made an extremely thorough effort to hunt down all the hidden Christians every night and would make a thorough inspection of the whole village. And sometimes they would make a sudden swoop on a house and no one is expecting it. Like, for example, since last year, a decree was issued that you're not allowed to have hedges or a fence around your house so they can see in your house all the time." So, like, I think it's, like, even especially hard because there's such a lack of privacy, too, because how the government is taking such a role in their religion and their private practices that they're, like, not even letting them have a fence around their house is a huge thing.
They
Seems
don't
as if
trust.
the restriction on their faith almost makes it stronger in some ways.
You know, it's like they're like our government doesn't trust us to be able to have our own faith. But like Hagen said, it makes them stronger. Like when something is outlawed, you're like, I feel better doing this because I feel like this is the right thing to do. They don't know it's the right thing to do. But so yeah.
Also, it would be like really terrifying because you're always just like out of nowhere. You can just be like the government can come to your house and take you away.
Because it's similar to the idea of how, you tell a child don't do this, and in their mind they're like, well, now I want to do it because you told me I can't. Like you're restricting me from doing something that now because you've put that idea in my head, I want to do it to see what I can get out of it.
I think it's different for them though because there's such a big penalty if they get caught doing it. Like for a child, they just like get told no, but like for them, they could easily lose their life.
Yeah.
I think it was like actually kind of good because when they restricted it, then they wanted to see like what it actually was, and when they found out what Christianity actually was, then they like realize that like it's the real thing and that it's legit. So I think it actually brought more people to salvation rather than like turning them away. Because I think it's like the cowards that like turned away from like the restriction, but like the people who like were willing to try and see what it was like those are the people that like came to realization that what they were banning was something good, and that they were missing out. So they actually decided to become Christians, and actually like something good came out of the bad, pretty much. What I'm trying to say.
A lot of times it seems like the Japanese people don't really comprehend Christianity to the full sometimes. Like there's times where they kind of hold on to physical items that represent the Christian belief than they do the actual faith itself. Like you can read the part maybe farther ahead where he, I forgot what, rosary? He splits his rosary among the people and they just love it. And it's kind of like they like the physical item more than they understand their faith itself.
And I think maybe that's because, like, as we were all saying, like, there's a restriction, and when you've basically been told your whole life that you can't believe something because it's against the law, like, because, like, sometimes you get this feeling, like, when you're talking to God, or, like, when you know, like, God's there, like, you get a feeling, but it's not really, like, something you can feel, like, physically in your hands. Like, some people, in that instance, like, they wanted something tangible. And I feel like that's why they kind of went a bit, like, they were so excited about it, because it's like, oh, I have a physical piece. And in reality, like, a rosary isn't going to be the thing that gets you close to God. It's your faith with God.
What did you guys think about that part where, like, basically they were out? It was Garape and Garape and whoever is like writing about it, Sebastian, were out, and like they were out there, and then they realized that there were two people like right on top of the hill. And they got like really freaked out. Like, what do you guys think about that part?
What page was that?
36.
But the people really
bottom.
just wanted them to come to their village and help.
Yeah, and they didn't know that at first.
Yeah, you almost thought like they kind of just had to have faith that they weren't about to get killed.
Well, they actually ran in the first place.
Well, yeah.
And then.
But then when they eventually came and tried and made contact, you would think like that takes a lot of, because it takes a lot of strength to be killed for believing in it, and it takes just as much to put yourself in a situation where you can be killed for it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's two kind of different things, like what you said. If you know, some people would think I'll die for my religion, but when it actually, like, the situation comes, you're like, oh, geez, maybe I'm not as strong in this as I thought I was. Just like they were, they flee because they thought, oh, they're gonna kill us or take us in for what we're here for.
Like when one of the explorers said, Padre, the plaintive voice made itself hear again. There's nothing wrong. Don't be afraid of us. Like, that was a gutsy move for Father, was the guy?
Oh, the one who's writing?
Yeah.
Rodriguez.
Father Rodriguez to like go out there and then like actually put himself out there. That was like a really gutsy move, because like he didn't know if those people were like actual Christians or it was just like the government, like that was just like trying to fool them. Like, I feel like that's something that most of us wouldn't be able to make the call to like actually go out there and encounter those people.
Right. Because we'd be like, yeah, is it really worth it for us? And then it really is for other people, but like most of the time we would just kind of wimp out in a sense and be like, yeah, no, it's not something I would actually like to do.
How surprised were you guys when when the two people told them that Kichijiro brought them over, like showed them the island, like which basically meant that Kichijiro was a Christian, but then something happened that made him renounce his faith. Like, how surprised were you guys by that? A little bit.
Kichijiro seems to be really weak in a lot of ways. Because he kind of really wants to be a Christian really bad, and you can tell he believes it because he obviously fears, what he's done. But at the same time, he's almost too weak to be able to stand up for it.
I wouldn't say that's being like too weak, because like their entire lives are at stake right now, because in Japan, like, it's so hard to be a Christian because literally one person could just accuse you of it and you'd be killed. And so I feel like the people that are standing up for their faith are like exceptionally like strong in their faith, but I feel like you can't really call the people that aren't
But
weak.
throughout almost the entire story, people are constantly dying for it, and rarely do they ever apostatize. Kichijiro seems to do it over and over and over again.
And like, I can see what he means by he thinks that he's weak, because right here it says, 8 years before, he and his whole family, all Christians, had been betrayed through envy by an informer and had been brought up for question. Ordered to tread on a picture of Christ, his brothers and sisters had firmly refused to do so. Only Kichijiro, after a few threats from the guards, had yelled that he would renounce his faith. His brothers and sisters were immediately brought off to prison, but Kichijiro himself, though set free, did not return to his native village.
Yeah, everyone in his family died for it except for
Yeah, and I feel like he feels a little bit of shame about that. Because, like, my entire family's gone, and I could have been with them, and I could have stood up for my own faith, but instead I decided to lie to protect myself.
I feel like he was like he became like that, like a drunkard, to like drown out all the anxiety that he's been through, like everything that happened in his life, which is why he like renounced his faith. Like, he can't live with the fact that he actually did that, and he was the only one in his family that renounced his faith. So I feel like it wasn't like that he was a coward. I feel like it was just straight shame and like disappointment in himself that he didn't do the right thing.
And
Yeah.
even you can go.
It would be hard to like live with that, knowing that you could have like stood up for your faith and been with your family, like went through it with them, but you just like betrayed them and now you're alone.
And even Father Rodriguez, I think that's the correct character, even says himself that Kichijiro is almost like a weak person in a way, because he's constantly saying, "Oh, bless me, Padre, I have sinned," like constantly asking for forgiveness and then doing it again. He never seems to learn that when you're put in that situation, he doesn't seem to be capable of it. I mean, he is, but he doesn't ever do it, it seems like.
There might be like less on weakness though, and more on addiction, which in a sense addiction is like weakness, because you're falling into your own shame and guilt and anxieties, but like, because it's not easy to get out of addiction, but at the same time, like, there has to be a certain point where you have
What's
to
he
start.
addicted to?
Isn't it alcohol?
Yeah, I'm talking about the mark, like where he
Oh.
would become a martyr.
Oh, that, yeah.
In that way, drinking is, I guess, yeah, that is technically.
Yeah, then ignore me.
When they heard that the village was getting like destroyed and like it was getting raided by a bunch of people, do you think you guys would like flee like Father Rodriguez, or would you like stay and like fight for the village?
So, like, it could go either way, because if you flee, it really depends on the situation. I understand, like, the village is being attacked and destroyed, but, like, if you flee, you can preserve certain things and start over. But if you fight and you are clearly out like overpowered and you lose absolutely everything about you and your entire
And
like
you have
village.
to remember they're Catholic, and they believe that without a priest, the religion in the area is pretty much lost because everyone's doomed to sin because they can't be forgiven without a priest. So he has to run away, because if he doesn't, then he's pretty much doomed all his people that are left to being forced to not be able to have their sins forgiven.
Yeah. Hey, I'm glad you brought that up there at the end. Is that the one thing that we do have to kind of keep in the back of our minds, and you probably have caught this already, is that we are dealing with Japanese Catholics, with Catholic priests, and the role that priests play within the practice of faith. And you really do kind of get that, how desperate all these people were, that, we have priests backing up this, because as far as they're concerned, they've just been biding their time. They've just been kind of surviving off of what they have available to them, where they've set up this system of basically, we could say there's been temporary priests. And so for Rodriguez and Garape to show up, all of a sudden now we have this whole renewal of the entire community. That's been really transformative for them, and it's why they're so protective of the priests as well. That they really kind of have the idea, and the Christians, you get this, even in that last little bit at the end of chapter 3 there, where Mokichi comes in, he brings Rodriguez back and he says, you've got to run away, that if you die, our faith dies with you. And that's what they're trying to prevent from happening. All right, great discussion, you guys. Really well done. So, all right, we're hitting a pretty good hot streak right there with our discussions. Nice. Okay, we've got a little bit of time left. Yes, need to talk to you all about
Or Macbeth test.
some.
I took the Macbeth test already.
Hey, did you do history notes?
What?
Did you do history notes?
Nope.
Just take them up.
Does he? I don't think so.